Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for SCOM Update Rollup 2. We're going to start in just a minute, but I want to make sure that everyone can hear us. If you could let us know in the chat window, that would be great. Thanks. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for SCOM Update Rollup 2. This is part of the original Coffee Break SCOM-a-thon banner. This is in partnership with SquaredUp and with Cookdown. If you are also able to, please join us in the Slack forum for questions or comments as we progress. And we'll get started. And as soon as I make my slides work, here we go. All right. Good morning. Update Rollup 2. Today, I'm your host, Shawn Williams. I work for SquaredUp, and our panelist is Leon Laude. He writes a very, very prolific writer about all things SCOM and System Center. I want to point that out because sometimes the System Center suite doesn't get enough love. Leon, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Good morning. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I always enjoy having you as a co-host or panelist, as we have you marked here. Let me go through the one slide here for joining the conversation. So if you have questions, please join us in the webinar chat window. We also have the Slack window. I just posted a message there. Good morning, Samir. If you have other questions as we progress or at the end, please let us know and we'll see if we can get to those. As I mentioned earlier, I'm your host, and Leon Laude is our SCOM consultant. Today's presentation will cover SCOM Update Rollup 2. It's fairly text heavy today, so not many pictures, but lots to talk about. I think we're going to cover the installation briefly. Lots of improvements in this update rollup. Some feature updates, which Leon has lots to share about the change tracking and override tracking, and some last-minute enhancements that the SCOM team announced after the update rollup was published. So, shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right. So, installation. I noticed this time, Leon, that you did not do a blog about how to install, instead deferring to Kevin. Yes. Anything to be said for that one, other than Kevin tends to always do this, and he's pretty good about it?
Yeah, so Kevin Holman, as everyone should know by now, I hope, is like a SCOM god, or one of them. He always writes blog posts, step-by-step guide how to install each and every update rollup. So if you have any concerns regarding how to install an update rollup, you can always go to kevinholman.com and you will find these guides there. And the guides provide very thorough information how to install the updates and in which order. And he also provides links. And there's also a good, if there is any issues, he will also post them, and so on.
Yeah, and I think a really important part to why Kevin is a good resource is that he's also a PFE with Microsoft. And
exactly.
he has access to a whole lot of information that we don't.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much kind of like the pulse of it and can get the information disseminated a lot faster. But yeah, he has a really good post, and I want to call out something that he always calls out. But SCOM update rollups are cumulative. So you can always usually, well, I shouldn't say always usually, you can always jump to the most recent update rollup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, as you mentioned, his known issue section. And only install what you need. I've seen a lot of SCOM implementations where they just install all the management packs. Don't do that. It'll just slow things down and make things a lot noisier for you. But so at this point, I've installed Update Rollup. I followed his blog. Things went pretty well. After this is going to be kind of like the Leon show because I don't have much experience with what we're about to talk about. So let's just dive right into the web console improvements and go from there. You ready?
Alrighty.
All right. So web console improvements, lots of changes here. Yeah. So you've used the REST API, haven't you?
Yeah, I've actually I did a blog post this summer about it. So I have put some effort into it and finally got it working. Although there is a lot of lacking information. But yeah, this is something I did notice with the REST API, the classes. So yeah, the ID was returned as a class name, which got me confused actually, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. So yeah, I just thought, okay, fine. I managed to get something out of it, and I was happy with that. But yeah, apparently this was an issue which should now have been fixed. So I have not yet tried to make a REST API call for the classes, but I will definitely do that as soon as I can.
So I just want to call out the fact that SCOM now has a REST API so that you can call SCOM and get information out. It's funny that it shows up in an update rollup. There really should be, in my opinion, some really nice blogs from Microsoft about this, because you can start pulling information out of SCOM without having to deal with SCOM. So if you have other dashboarding solutions like SquaredUp, I'm just going to say that, you can start pulling information out and use this in a really neat way. PowerShell, other dashboarding solutions. This is really key. And then just to see like a little line item in an update rollup doesn't do this as much. There needs to be a lot more around this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, but seeing that they're making changes and then there's updates to it, this is a big point that I guess is lost here, that SCOM is not dead still. Just want to kind of keep pointing that out, because it just seems like with every update rollup recently or every blog post, there's more and more stuff coming from the SCOM team. And
that is so true.
Yeah. But anyway, and the one that really stood out for me here was the auto sign-on using Windows authentication. A lot of people found that using the web console, in my experience, was a pain because it kept timing out on them. This is a good deal. But again, in my new role, I don't deal with this as much, but it was definitely something I thought was interesting.
I'll jump in on that one also. This is something that's been annoying me as well. the sign in, and it is something I've seen a lot on the community forums. People asking, why does it keep asking me for a login prompt all the time? So I'm really glad this is fixed now.
Continuing on with the web console improvements, which there are many. Cross-site scripting has been fixed, which is good to know. Didn't know that there was a problem, but good to know. What else pops out for you? And what would, I'm not sure how many people use the App Advisor website.
Yeah, and I don't use it myself. I do have few like old school customers who use it, but not many actually. Very rarely. So it's still interesting that they do some fixes for that. So yes. Obviously people are using it. The best one, of course, is the icons. No. The cross-site scripting was a hotfix that came. I remember it came for at least for SCOM 2016. Obviously it's cumulative, so now it's come to 2019 as well through Update Rollup.
Okay, good. I missed that then. The feature that was the most important for me was the web console performance view. I'll actually talk about that later. For web console. Using the performance view is something that I think is pretty nice. But we'll talk about that later. But it's just nice to know that they've beefed up that, because it was really slow and I would say almost unusable before. So if you didn't have another third-party tool to give you visualization into your SCOM environment and you were reliant on the web console, that's a really big fix.
Yeah, that's definitely an improvement, because I believe it's also one reason why people are not using the web console too much. It's the performance.
Cool. So and then speaking of something that needs some help with performance, the operations console. There were lots of changes for this guy. And then I just want to call it out, the SPN, it's the fixed alert generation logic for the SPN rule. That was one that it was always nice to get alerted, but it just never alerted properly. So you would fix it and it would still alert. And then you'd be like, well, did I fix it? This is nice. I haven't had a chance to really test it in real life, but it's nice to know that they're at least looking at that.
Yeah, this is really funny because this has been for years for many SCOM versions. And finally, they fixed it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that since SCOM is like in a period of resurgence, they're looking at all of the things out of the box that are annoying and fixing them. And that's pretty nice. I hope it's not a too little too late. I hope it's a let's go forward kind of thing, but we'll see. Continuing on with our console improvements. Didn't know about the first issue, which was the small data. But, good to know that they fixed it. Editing closed alerts. So that was interesting. And I also like the console version. It's minor, but the console version is now displayed in help. That's always nice when troubleshooting consoles that you might have installed on different users' desks.
Yeah, this is really something I believe most of my customers, at least, they check, help and go to about to check the versions. But it's really good that they now display the correct version. Versioning in SCOM has been a pain.
Yes.
You get the correct version. And I believe, or I feel at least, that this should be something very easy. It is not difficult. They could even place like which rollup it is, like in text. Is it Update Rollup 1? Is it 2? And so on.
Yes. No, I agree with you, because I remember having to go to certain DLLs to check versions.
Yeah.
And maintain a list of all the pieces and parts. And yeah, although I think Kevin Holman's MP for the agent takes care of some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah,
this is a good thing.
He does it pretty good, actually. Yeah. So if you don't know about his management pack, there's a management pack called SCOM Management. It really makes every admin's life way easier. So you can get it from his blog. So it's called SCOM Management, and it really helps out. And it will show you a lot of versions for agents, servers, and all the SCOM components, basically.
Cool. So continuing on with our console improvements. Applying the update rollup, directory path now displays correct information. Yeah, this one was, I have to tell you, I got bit by certain information disappearing out of the registry during update rollups. I did not know if it was the update rollup, if it was just a weird SCOM issue, but I'm glad that somebody reported it and they fixed it, because this was something that after the fact would cause me problems, and I'd have to go check the registry to make sure everything was there.
Yeah, I've personally not seen this. I might not have seen it in at my customers either. Just always succeeding in updating. But we had some questions coming in the community forums where there's been some issues, and then they were looking through the registry, and some servers had correctly displayed information while others did not. So there was a lot of confusion there.
Yeah, that was an odd one. Again, good that they addressed it, and hopefully we don't see it again. And this is the last slide for the operations console. This one, these are mostly reporting issues. I don't use reporting as much as I should, but because I think reporting is a very powerful aspect of SCOM. But it's nice that this got some good love.
Yeah, definitely. I do have a few customers using reporting a lot. So this is really good to see that they're focusing a lot on fixing reporting issues, because I think also reporting has become more popular to use. Organizations, they want more reports, managers and big bosses want some more nice reports. Everything should be green, and so on. So this is definitely good that they're focused on this. And recently also Bob Cornelissen, who's an MVP, also at SCOM God, so to say. He also released a free ebook for reporting, so you should definitely get that one. True.
He does love his reporting.
Yeah.
Yes, it is he does a lot with reporting. It's very nice. So another area that's actually near and dear to my heart are the Unix Linux improvements, making Linux more of a first-tier citizen with Windows in SCOM. This was always the thing that the Linux admins I worked with would always point out and say, Microsoft can't monitor Linux, but this shows that they do and will and can do a really good job of it. The feature here that stood out for me the most was log rotation. You don't do much with Linux, do you, Leon?
Not as much as I would like to. But
Yeah.
It's still a bit in the gray area for me. I do love Linux. I should get more into it. I just don't have many customers. I have one big customer with quite a lot of Linux, but that's it.
Yeah.
I wish there were more.
It's like a feast or famine. You find someone that does it, and then they do almost all their Linux and very little Windows, or they do all Windows and very little Linux.
Exactly.
But I like to keep abreast of this one, because in my old shop, they did a really good job of both landscapes were covered fairly well. Just continuing IPv6 support. The run as targets make it easier to create dynamic groups. Oh my God, thank you. I would love to see more improvements with the run as for Linux, but I'll have to do one of those posts to the Microsoft user voice forum for that. And then monitors with overridable process names. Yes, these are all like awesome things for Linux. Finally, we get to our other improvements. These are some of the things that were interesting but didn't really fit into a category. The .NET dependency on 3.5. Oh, thank goodness that's been removed. Yes. It was like it was there. You needed it to get past, but it was never used. At least I could tell. So this will make a lot of Windows admins very happy not having it. Let's see. And then, oh, this was a throwback to the earlier post about the registry having some things change. So these are some of the parameters that were changed. The checkpoint depth, max size, just something that I did that I thought was interesting that Microsoft is now recommending is back up the registry for certain keys. I didn't ever see that in any prior update rollup, and I don't see it in Kevin Holman's post, but it was something that I had been doing since 2016 just because sometimes a registry key would disappear.
Yeah. Well, if you knew about that, then of course, you would probably think about backing up the registry.
Right. And then updated published management system center pack for JEE application servers. That was something that I was investigating before I left my old shop, and it's really nice to see that this is going forward. This is big for the APM features.
Yeah.
I'd like to. It would be neat to see more of that, or maybe some more people exploiting those functionality.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of asking about that. So hopefully people do submit feedback. If you don't, then make sure you do, because Microsoft is listening to everyone. So not like spying, but they're reading the SCOM user voice page. So make sure you submit feedback to that page.
Cool. And then we get to this part of our presentation. Change tracking. This is probably one of the biggest, most requested, complained about thing ever in SCOM. Honestly, this is pretty awesome. Can you tell us about it, Leon?
Yeah, so I wrote a blog post about this when Update Rollup 2 was released. I thought I'd just go like a quick look into what has come finally regarding change tracking. So in previous versions of SCOM, there has been no tracking whatsoever of any changes. So, and SCOM can be quite a powerful tool. There's a lot you can trigger from SCOM. It's not just a monitoring tool. As I say to my customers, you can trigger scripts, you can trigger a lot of things. So it can be very dangerous too. So any auditing or change tracking to SCOM is very important, and I'm happy to say that we finally have something. So we have got management back history, management back object, and override tracking. So these are 3 different reports that they have added now. And so my blog post goes more into details about this. But basically, what you can see in these is changes regarding the management packs. And when you do changes in SCOM like overrides, everything is saved into management packs. So basically, most changes are done into the management packs themselves. So that's why it is important to track the changes in the management packs. So this is like, this picture shows the 3 new reports that will show up after installing Update Rollup 2. I don't believe we have more pictures of this, but in my blog post, I do have how the reports look like and what information you can filter in these reports.
Cool. You know what? I was gonna look to see about bringing up your blog post. We could get a couple pictures there.
Yeah, you can do that.
But I have to tell you that the management pack objects, that was the one that was confusing to me. Do you have like a particular use case that would, like where that one would be kind of helpful? I mean, I get override tracking and I get management pack history, but it was the management pack objects. Like, what is that a good thing? I guess I
was thinking about that one too for a while, and I'm not really sure what the whole idea was. I guess the whole idea is good, But yeah, I personally don't have any use for it, but there surely are some that will have use for it. So as you can see, hopefully you can see, this is my blog post, and we are now looking at the management pack history report. This is an example how it looks like. So you will see the management packs, the version, the date, and which action was done by which username. And when you create this report, you can filter by username, or by management pack, or even by action. So if someone deleted the management pack, you can just filter and set the action to delete, and you will see a report of all the deleted management packs. And this is something that can happen, and I've seen it happen in many environments. So this is actually a good thing, a good report.
Yes, absolutely. And I like that it maintains this history in the database, not in a management.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
we have the management pack object, which basically gets the details of monitors, rules, discoveries, and groups, and so on.
I get you. Okay, so if you were going to target a specific thing, then we could see what changes happened to that thing. Okay, I was not up to speed on that. Let me scroll on down here. Here's our object, and then our fields. Excellent. Okay. So
so I wrote like a table about each entry, so it will make it somehow clear for people. I like to make things as clear as possible, and I want people to understand what each of these mean, basically. And I also provide an example report. It might be a bit small to see, but yeah, you can open it up in another window and should be a bit bigger if you have any problems seeing the pictures.
Gotcha. And I do want a kind of a self-serving plug here, but want to point out that somebody in the Slack channel asked about if there was something for SquaredUp to show this information. And then Samir replied with, they have a community dashboard that Samir actually wrote. So if you do need to see that in SquaredUp, there's a nice community pack to see it together. And there's a link to it in the forum also. And then this was the overrides. This was the one that I had the most interested in.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, the most interesting one, because overrides is what admins are doing, basically doing mostly in SCOM. It's an override is basically, everyone knows what it is, but it's a change, and it could be a threshold or disabling, enabling, monitor rule or discovery and so on. So this one will really give out very detailed information what overrides have been done lately.
Because that could be where things go south. You have somebody who I think has an operator role and just starts turning things on or off just to test, and you can go find what happened really quick. I can share that in my particular case, I had a colleague who just so happened to be an administrator because they were part of the Windows team, and he turned on some crazy stuff, and it just brought our entire Windows landscape to its knees. If it wasn't for the fact that I maintained a really nice change log and I could tell when files were changed, I would have never known that something had changed. This would have made things a lot simpler. So good stuff.
Yeah, I've been there myself.
Yeah, this was definitely most needed and a good change. And again, shows the investment that Microsoft has been putting in the platform. Cool. So anything more about this particular feature? Any questions we can take at this point?
What I wrote here, what's next, I wanted just to point out that this is just the beginning of change tracking or auditing, like I like to say. And there is some information on the SCOM user voice page. I think it was the initial change tracking or auditing user voice feedback. where Microsoft actually commented that they have now implemented some change tracking, and there is more to come. So they actually said that. And the next thing to come is more like administrative things that will be audited.
Good. Good. I guess that is a very important topic to point out. User voice. If you haven't become familiar with that and you're a SCOM admin, become familiar with this. I've logged several bugs here myself. It does get visibility. If there's a feature or a problem, you'll also see that Kevin Holman posts here. He does sometimes post his view or an opposing view to the general community. This is a good place to just get a conversation going also. Definitely.
Yeah.
Haven't had a chance to check this out. You really need to start looking at this.
There are many SCOM experts actually commenting on different kinds of feedback here. So it's not like a forum, but sort of.
Yeah.
So there can be very interesting discussions here. But all of this, what's on the SCOM user voice page, they go through it with Microsoft or the SCOM team. So if you have any feedback or any bug report or anything, make sure to submit it over here.
Yep. Cool. All right. I'm going to move that away. Continue with our slides. So there's been some changes to the web console. So for those of you that use the web console, they added support for favorite reports and support for folders. Have you had a chance to use these at all, Leon, before I get to them?
Not yet, just briefly gone through them in my lab environment.
Okay, pretty much the same for me then. I always check out to see what Microsoft has. Again, it's kind of like a bias, but I do use SquaredUp because not only do I love the product, but I also work for them. But I was familiar with the web console. Favorite reports was always something I wanted because the SSRS component of SCOM doesn't get enough love, in my opinion. This helps bring those out. The problem I had with it was that you had to log on to the console first, which means you have to at least install the console. And the whole purpose, in my opinion, of the web console is to not have to start the thick client. So having to log on, save a report to a favorite, and then have it show up didn't make much sense to me. And then when you saved it to your favorites, you had to save it with the drop downs pre-selected. So I don't know, I was kind of torn on this. I think it's really good, but we need to be able to modify the reports in the operations console, web console better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like, and then in my particular case, at least in my current role, I wasn't able to troubleshoot how to get this to work. So there was like a double hop issue somewhere, I think, or it could have been networking. I'm not really sure yet what it was, but I couldn't get it to work off box. So I had to start the operations console on the same server that had the SSRS server. So yeah, it was kind of, I need to spend some more time to see how this can be troubleshoot this all the way through. But it's nice to see it. There's progress. This is a first step. I'm not going to complain about anything the team does because I'm just excited that they're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Another view, this one was good for me because I liked the workspace view. I used it in the thick console. I used it in the web console when I needed to. I liked it. I liked that there were folder support now. So in this particular view here, you'll see that I had favorite views, and then I also created a subfolder. Oh, I actually did it on the next slide. So, and it's same as the favorite report view. You have to go to the console, thick console, create your stuff, mark it as a favorite, and then off you go. But the problem for me here was, you'll see in the top view, the SCOM console, I have three dashboards. I have an operations systems performance view, a SQL Server alert view, and the SQL Server summary view. The SQL Server summary view did not show up in the web space. So I don't know if that is a shortcoming of the dashboard view or what. So I got to figure that out. But the other views worked out great. And so something I mentioned earlier in our presentation was the performance view. So the operating system performance view operates like the thick console, and that was nice. So all the objects show up. It was fairly performant. If you don't have another way to present that information, that was really nice. So if you created a saved view that you wanted to click through, you could save the same report multiple times, different items checked, and that makes this a lot more usable. And then this was the web console folder view. So I continued down. So I just created a subfolder and added in 2 states. I added in the Windows computer view here, just kind of as a throwback to one of the items in Update Rollup 2, because the computer view was modified to be a lot more performant. So those people that use the web computer view, it used to take a long time.
Yeah.
It's fairly click on it and it works. That's good.
And so the comment something about my workspace here. Well, now that they actually fixed or made the performance better in the Windows computers view, there was one main reason why I used my workspace. It was to basically load everything much faster, because in the monitoring view, you have to load and go through everything, you know. So in my workspace, I just had my necessary views that I needed, and they loaded much quicker. Nothing else needed to be loaded. But now that they made, for example, the Windows computers view faster, so that's definitely going to help. But imagine a big environment where it needs to load all the different views. That might help you if you just do your own views under my workspace and work from there.
Yes, I agree. I agree. This makes it much more usable. If they spend a little bit more time here with a few more tweaks, this could be really nice. If we could just add things to this without having to launch the thick console, that makes the web console a much better choice right out of the gate. And maybe some Linux administration. I'm just throwing that out there in case the Microsoft team is listening, because you can't do any agent administration from here. And it would be nice to, particularly for the Linux admins, to put some Linux administration in the web console so they don't have to install a Windows server or Windows desktop. But anyway, that's a pet peeve. That's a whole other topic too. Something else that Microsoft has posted was an article about enhancements. So the Windows computer view, which we just got done talking about, changing the settings of a user role. That was interesting. I personally never used user roles to define what a user was or was not allowed to look at. But I know that the ability was there, so you could say like your DBA team could only see those objects where they had SQL Server installed and then define what it is they could look at. But once you created it, when you made a change to it, it could take in the upwards of 20 to 60 minutes for something to update. Yeah. Grooming of the maintenance mode staging table. I only saw that as an issue when we were doing in-place upgrades, because there was a step to clean the staging table.
Yeah.
The SDK service not starting. Yes, I have seen that. I just thought it was a Windows problem, not a SCOM problem, but this is good to see that they're looking into that. And then, of course, my all-time favorite, the reliability and performance improvements in the XPlat agent. They call out a lot of things there, and it was good just to see Microsoft giving Linux some love there. Kind of wrapping this up, we have a whole lot of links. We have Kevin's UR2 links. We have Leon's links, which was the quick look into the change tracking. Your initial blog for Update Rollup 2. I put this here because I like that you give System Center a lot of love. So DPM, BMM, that was also good. And then lastly, the Microsoft article about the enhancements, where they go into a little bit more detail about the high-level stuff that they did to make everything happy. So all in all, big update roll-up, lots of stuff.
Yeah, and there's more coming.
Yeah.
It feels like each update roll-up is getting bigger and bigger. It's like it's so much change. It could almost be like, well, you could compare it like back in the days to a service pack, basically.
Yes, I would have to agree. But it is nice. I don't know what's changed with the team, or maybe it's the community, but they're definitely doing lots of stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's reborn or something. It's from the ashes. They're really listening, and they're really like eager to get feedback and to know to get the information from customers. What do you want us to do, and so on. What do you want improved, and what would be nice? You know, what can make SCOM a better product?
Yep, I agree. So before we get to Q&A, anything else that we need to cover about the update rollup?
I have something I want to take up. I have not seen it yet on Kevin's blog post for known issues, but we have had a few community forum posts regarding the installation of Update Rollup 2. There's been some issues which I have really banged my head to the wall. I have tried to reproduce the issues, but have not succeeded. I had once an issue where the one-click installer failed some steps. So I did some rollback, and what I did then was basically just reboot SCOM server. It was just a one management server lab, and then I rerun the one-click installer, and then it installed nicely. But what this one specific customer or guy was having problem with was the one-click installer as well, and it managed to install or perform the first step. So there are 3 steps. There are the management server, so the management server patch. Then there are the SQL scripts, and finally there are the import management packs, the new management packs. So this is what the one-click installer does. And the first step was successful, but the rest failed. And we could not really get to the issue. I tried to troubleshoot with this guy for a long time. And yeah, here you can see the different steps. You have the management server, the database configuration, which is the SQL scripts, and the management packs. So when something fails in the one-click installer, it will roll back. But if one step succeeds, it will not roll back that step. So in this scenario, the guy had the management server successfully installed. So we could see even in the console that the versions had been updated, but the rest still needed to be done. So in this scenario, it is a bit tricky. How should you go forward? Personally, I don't know what is the supported method here. The only thing I thought, okay, one-click installer failed on one step. So then I recommended to do it manually, like in the good old days.
Right.
So the management server, either way, is the first step. You always patch the management service first. After that, you have the ACS, the web console, the gateway, the alterations console, the path console, the reporting server. Then you apply the scripts. Then you import a management pack. Then you do the agent update, and finally you update the Linux agent. So that's what that was my recommendation, and I'm not sure what he ended up with, but I know that the SCOM PM he actually replied and asked him to send some more information to the SCOM product team's email. So hopefully he will get that sorted. It was interesting.
Okay, interesting. So, listening to this, there were several things that crossed my mind. One was that Microsoft was interested in fixing it. Good. 2, running the one-click installer, not as robust as I had hoped, but we can still revert back to the manual steps. It's just, and I guess that's an important takeaway there. If it fails, you can still do it manually and then just do all the steps manually to make sure that you cover it. Yeah. But
I'm fairly sure that it works that way, and that's how I would personally proceed in that case. If you do have a support agreement with Microsoft, you might also make a ticket just to be safe. But the funny thing in this scenario was that we did check the logs, and they did actually tell us nothing relevant. So where do you go troubleshooting then? So it was a bit interesting.
That is interesting, because I would have expected something there, but well, that's good to know. If anyone else runs into the issue, log the ticket, report back to the Slack forum, just so we can find out. Maybe, and if you don't have a support ticket, log to the forum. We can see what we can do from there too. So that's a good community call out.
Yeah. So the old MSDN TechNet forums are more or less now migrated to the new platform.
That's good to know. I did not know that. I've been busy elsewhere.
Yeah. So if you have any questions in the Microsoft community, and you normally ask in the Microsoft TechNet forums, they have now been migrated to a new platform called Microsoft Q&A. Don't have a link here, but it's like, let's see, what's the link? We could show them. So basically the whole System Center suite, except for DPM, has been now migrated to the new platform. So if you have any questions, make sure to ask over there, because I'm not even sure you can ask over at the old forums anymore. They are probably going to make them read-only and static. But yeah, here you have the new platform. So we got different subcategories for Operations Manager. I think these are good. They're more or less what existed previously. So we can see here's the general forum, and we have already received quite a lot. I'm talking like I'm working for Microsoft. I do spend a lot of time on the forum. So yeah, it does take some time to get used to it, but fear not, it will get better as well.
Good. Yeah, I've not had a chance. I've not been on their forums, probably 2 to 3 weeks. So this is a really recent change.
Yeah, this is basically like end of August, or end of July, August.
End of July. Okay, that makes sense. Because I usually try to go look at and/or answer questions here in the SquaredUp community forums also, and there's one other forum that I like to troll. So, but yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Leon. So that leads us back to Q&A. We just have a couple items here. The first one was related into REST API to get class names. That one looks like Samir handled it pretty good about the commandlets for PowerShell to call the REST API. That's good. We have Samir's blog post and community pack for SquaredUp for the changelog overrides. And I see Leon just posted a link to the community forums. And we have a question here about using sconfig to find the update rollups for SCOM. I am not familiar with sconfig. Are you familiar with sconfig, Leon?
Yeah, through using the server core, basically, without the graphical user interface. But I have not needed to use sconfig to check for the update rollups. That's new to me as well.
Okay, so now that you say that, it makes me laugh because I did not support the Windows server very long. So I was not a great Windows administrator. I was more of a troubleshooter. So I would find a method that worked, and then that was the method I went with. And when it came to supporting SCOM, I kind of took the application administrator approach to figure out versions, not using a system config like that, a command from the system. So this is kind of funny. Depending on your background, there are many, many different ways to do something. So that's good to know. So thank you, Patrick for pointing that out.
That's very useful information.
Yeah. Cool. And if there's no other questions, we'll probably wrap up. Give it a couple seconds. Okay, so Patrick just reposted sconfig will show other things. That's good information.
Yeah, I just have one comment. And I've noticed since I use a lot of System Center products, I've noticed there's been some issues when applying an update rollup automatically. And obviously people want to automate most things nowadays. So they use the Windows Update method. But I've noticed quite a lot of problems lately, specifically with the update rollup 1 or 2, with various of the System Center products. So I've always been a bit against, I believe, or I feel like an update rollup is still quite a big update. So I want to have more control over it. So that's why I always do it manually. And I know many disagree with me here, and it should work perfectly to automate this. But there's been some issues. I cannot tell what exactly, but I've just seen from the forums that people have been having issues from getting it installed properly or finding it overall in general from Windows Update.
Okay. So, and I guess in this particular case, then it's advocating caution. So, for those of us with history, doing it the old way is more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's something to be said for, when something changes, how do you troubleshoot? And the more they automate, the harder it will get for us to troubleshoot.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't see any other questions in the forum, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. Click on the right screen here. So here are some coffee break resources. Let us know what you would like in our workspace in Slack. There's a direct link. If you sign up for future sessions, there's our registration link. All of our recordings and slides will be published at the final SCOMathon coffee break link. Again, SCOMathon is our new brand for all of these types of coffee breaks for SCOM and related content. And thank you. Thank you from SquaredUp, and thank you from Cooktown. We appreciate you attending, and if you have any questions, again, please join the conversation out of the coffee break or in the Slack channel for the coffee break sessions. So thank you again. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Leon. Bye.